talking today to Vincent Truter, who runs Cycology. Vincent, you ride an electric bicycle in Johannesburg. That must be a terrifying experience.
Many people have many ideas about bicycles, and what it's like to ride them in an urban environment like Johannesburg. But I can assure you it's not as scary as you think it is. And that with the assist that you get from electric mobility, it makes the geography of the city very easy to traverse.
And you were saying that the really dangerous points are the main roads rather than the back routes, as it were.
Yes, I think one of the exciting parts of it is that you find the routes that you are comfortable with, you know. I believe that urban commuting mobility, green mobility, is very possible on these electric bicycles in a city like Johannesburg. And I see the bicycles as a kind of tool to access the streets. You know, there's such a weird proliferation of invisible walls in this city that we live in. And when you start engaging it on street level, many of those walls disappear. Many of your preconceptions about what is dangerous and not dangerous shift and change. And you see that it's really possible to live this city in a very open and engaged way.
How are you selling these electric bicycles?
Well, the selling hasn't been the main driver at this point in time. We've got a very exclusive range of bicycles with a very particular price point. So it's not about, at this point in time, letting them fly off the shelves to every South African. We're really looking at marketing these bikes to the corporate environments where we can get influencers and decision makers to actually visibly use these bicycles in commuting and functional journeys of their lives, not in their holiday homes in Tessin Island, but actually really use them on a day-to-day basis. And we sell them predominantly through experiences that we construct called activations, and a workshop series that I host called The Session with a Psychologist, where I take these mid to senior level management people out, give them an experience of the bike, and use the beautiful receptive state that they get into from the route to discuss things around sustainability and green mobility and lay the egg, you know, that we need to lay.
And you set up a foundation which has a plan.
A very big plan, and a very feasible plan. You know, a lot of my work has been around lobbying and spending a lot of time talking at international conferences, sharing my story, but at the same time getting people switched on to the idea that we really can, in an African context, leapfrog. We can use technology to leapfrog through developmental issues that the West has already dealt with, you know, and I see the electric bicycle as a tool like this. And the more I see this potential, the more I realize it exists slightly outside of my main business objective. There is this whole opportunity that the Cycology Foundation is seizing around making green mobility solutions viable and giving people access to it. And so we thought the best way for this foundation to function is for it to do two things. One, get the facts and the figures straight. All the research studies out there are fantastic and interesting, but they're based in the West, and they're based in the center of the developing nations. What we want is we want local statistics. We want to get research programs off the ground, and then as an A-side to that, do experiments. You know, I think a lot of the slow-moving cogs around non-motorized transport and infrastructure development and green mobility lies unfortunately with the kind of slightly crippled bureaucracies that run the city. It's a private-public sector partnership that needs to happen, but it needs to happen on the ground of very clear information. So let's not go into a 16 million rand feasibility study, which actually ends up just paying a lot of bureaucrats' salaries for 5 years and ends up in a piece of white paper this thick. Let's rather go, suspend, try, 3 months, see what happens, and get rich data about what really will work, you know.
And what are the realities of transport in the city? Because you were saying earlier that only 10% of people who live in Johannesburg own a car.
You know, I don't want to get into the statistics because I'll probably misquote the very good work that a lot of people have done. The bottom line remains that the amount of cars are owned by a very marginal amount of people who are part of this city, and that the dominant modes of transport are informal transport economies and these two things, you know, our feet.
On their feet.
And I see a real opportunity to give people access to a quality of living in South Africa and in Johannesburg in particular, because Cape Town's a no-brainer, you know, it's already started its very good non-motorized transport infrastructure. But here, we can make a difference in a lot of people's lives with some very simple shifts.